Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to sort out this Vacheron Constantin or Constantine or however you'd like to name it. The biggest issue concerning this is that the hands do not line up. So I suspect it's gotten a knock and been knocked out of position, or somebody blind has been fitting the hands. See, that does not line up at all. But yeah, besides that, I have given the client the information that this is a time and materials based project. So if something breaks or goes wrong or is broken or has gone wrong, there's only so much I can do because parts are difficult to find. And like most Swiss watch manufacturers, do not sell parts to independent watchmakers. So if anything goes wrong or is wrong, that might be the end of the project, because I do not have, unfortunately, wheel cutters fine enough to cut teeth for watches like this. Anyway, let's open it up. It's kind of a snap-on case back. I suspect the movement lies in the back here. And we'll have to lift that out. There's a little groove. Gently pry that open. The spec comes out from here. Okay, to lift the case, movement out of the case. There's maybe it'll fall out. No, not going to fall out. But there is a little slot under here, as you can see, which you can gently pry the movement out like so. There we go. There's the lovely decorated movement based on an Odmus Begier, I believe, very thin one. I cannot remember the name in my head, but I will write it in here. Vacheron Constantin, Liz called it a, what's that, a 1003/1 caliber, but it is based on what is an Odmus Begier movement from, if I remember correctly. I might be completely wrong, but I will correct myself in the subtext. So the good news is that this movement is, look how nice that is made, is not the most crazy movement to get parts for, because I have seen these various different brands, so there is hope, and it is ticking, which is good. So we're basically going to give this a full service and then put the hands back on, aligned as they should. Seems to be a little bit of patina on the dial, which is on the dial, and it's not dust, so there's not much that we can do with that. We'll leave that as is. I'm now going to take the movement apart in time lapse in order to cut down on the time of this movement. Video service, blah blah blah. I can't even speak right now, but then we'll put it back together in real time. Probably with a little bit of editing, because there's a lot of small fiddly screws here, and as always, I don't want to break anything. Well, the movement has been cleaned, and the first thing I'm going to do is put the cap tools onto the balance bridge and secure the balance onto the balance bridge, etc. I'm not going to film this because it's going to require me with my goggles on under the microscope, because all the screws that secure these things are tiny. Everything is tiny on this watch, unnecessarily tiny. I don't know how they made it, but they have. It's just very, very small. For comparison, I've brought out a ballpoint pen, and you can see about the size of the screws here. So I'm going to do this video a little bit in clips where I think you to see things come in place, and we'll look at the finished project, hopefully, if we get it running again. Well, good news is that we have managed to fit the cap tools and the regulator, of course. Tiny screws. I got to be very careful when I'm fitting them. You don't want to thread this. And the balance seems to be moving freely, and the hairsprings it's not sticking, so that's good. Now I'm going to take the hairspring off, and I'm going to attach the barrel to the barrel bridge and put the gear train in. I'm going to do little snippets like this in this one. I'm not going to do it in real time because this movement is causing me a bit too much stress to do it in real time, so I'd rather do it in snippets. So we can put the barrel on here. The barrel on these are, interestingly enough, the barrel arbor, which goes around here, goes into this big hole here, and the whole barrel is then free hung, so hung in place by being screwed on this on the top, on the ratchet wheel. So rather unusual construction. But we're going to put that there now and put the gear train in. A little drop of oil for the center wheel, and then we're going to put the gear train in place. So we can start with the escape wheel. There's our escape wheel. Fourth wheel. Third wheel. Be the second wheel, also the center wheel, just in here. We have independent bridge or cock for the escape wheel, and we have the bridge for the rest of the gear train. I'm going to fit this under the microscope because everything is very teeny tiny. So here we have the gear train secured under the gear bridge. I still have to actually screw these in place. As expected, very nicely finished screws. Not as crazy small as they could be, so that's nice. I appreciate that. Like when I was working on the Longines 13 chronograph, some of the screws were so finely threaded on the bridge, it didn't really make sense, and again, you're just scared of over threading it. I'm going to make sure that this balance cock did not dislodge the pivot before I tighten it. I'm going to do that. I use the rotor cone to smooth this. No, that's all in place. Now I can tighten it. Very nice. Now I can fit the bridge, and this of course is one detail I don't think is very, I don't know, probably not the nicest thing in this movement. I would have preferred I guess they were going for the world's thinnest movement at the time, so this is what they did. But I prefer things to be robust rather than fancy like this. I'm going to take a little bit of grease on top of here. Might not, I don't know if that's the correct thing to do, but that's obviously where a little bit of scratching surface have been previously. But I line this up, make sure it comes in correctly. Don't want to scratch the surface. It's so nicely decorated with pelage and Corte Genevieve. Very nice. Spent a lot of time on it. Okay, so I'm going to secure this. Again, this is an under the microscope job because the screws are very fine, and again, I don't want to break anything. There you can see the ratchet wheel is secured and holding the barrel in place. Now for the crown wheel, intermediate ratchet wheel comes on here. A little bit of grease on top and bottom of that. Not grease, but thick oil. Okay, these screws, to be honest, aren't that tiny compared to the ones that went onto the balance cock, and are fairly manageable. Next, I'm going to fit the ratchet, beautifully made, and we're going to fit the ratchet spring. Take a little bit of oil in there just because we can. Here goes the ratchet. Then we have the ratchet spring around here, like so. Very nice. Not too, just goes in nicely. Very well made, I have to say. Got two big screws, they go in there. works. Lovely. Now we can pop the movement around and we can do the winding and setting mechanism. Start with the cannon pinion, as the clutch pinion, which of course, like a lot of other things in this movement, is exceptionally tiny. There we go, that on. We can now fit now I'm going to fit the sliding pinion and winding pinion. You might notice I'm speaking with a fairly low voice, but I'm just trying to keep calm while working on this, nice and calm. Not that I don't focus or concentrate on other watches while I work on them, but it's just, you just know that if you bugger this one up, you're going to not be very happy, because it's quite a premium every time you break something. I'm the most happy when I've got a Omega, which I have parts for, or something like that, which is nice to work on, not too dainty. But you know, I will work on this as well. It's interesting to have a challenge. I've seen other YouTubers and stuff, they seem to be very excited when they get something like this. It's cool, but excitement is not what I'm feeling. I'm just more feeling just a sense of pressure to get it right, if that makes any sense. Of course, I've always intended to get every watch right, and I don't want to do any mistakes on anything, no matter from a Russian watch or a Swiss watch. But working on something like this, you just to say like this, it's delicate and you can feel it. In you go. That has unfortunately screwed off, so I'm going to tighten that again. So, setting lever is on. Happy about that. And the sliding pinion, winding pinion. Next we have the yoke. Put a tiny bit of grease where the yoke engages here, and a tiny bit on the sides here. And then we fit the yoke itself. Of course, every detail in this movement is finished to a very high specification. You can see in the yoke has a highly gloss finish and beveled edges. There you go. If you wonder what you're paying for, that's what you're paying for. Very fine finishes and tiny, tiny screws. And we have the yoke spring. Comes in here. Nice machined spring. And thankfully, a rather large screw to secure it. Being a relative thing in this case, but considering what I've been working with earlier on this movement, I think it's nice big thick thread. Give me a second to line this up. Very nice. for where the yoke spring hits the yoke. Might as well put a little bit of grease on there. Now we can place our intermediate winding and setting wheels. Line them up next to the movement here. A bit of oil on the sliding surfaces. A little bit rich, take a little bit off there. You won't. I don't think you'll see it in the video, but this little wheel is beveled, so you want to make sure the beveled end goes down and engages the sliding pinion. With all the wheels in place, we can secure them with the setting lever spring. That's the setting lever spring in place. A little bit of grease on that. Now we can wind the movement and we can set it. So there's no pallet fork in place, so we're not going to do that. We're going to have just a quick test to see that the gear train moves freely. Yes, it does. Now I can fit the pallet fork and the pallet bridge, and then we're going to see if this thing will run afterwards, which I surely hope it will. Okay, this is where the nightmare can begin if this is not healthy. There is not a lot of room. No. Take one, take two. Take three. Let's move a little bit more on this side. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, that is ticking. So I'll secure that and we'll see how it's performing. I suspect we'll have some beat error and some adjusting to do. We'll see, maybe we're lucky. So after a lot of hairspring reshaping and mucking around, it was a bit deformed, and because of the construction it's very difficult to see where it was deformed, but I did get it in the end. now adjusted it to go about 10 seconds fast. Dial down position, and if we flip that around to dial up, that's stable on both sides. Before it was over 30 seconds differential on dial down, dial up, and it also had it was just dots everywhere, but now it's nice and stable and I can use that, so happy with it. Okay, that's good. Now we got a watch that will keep at somewhat decent time. The next thing will be to fit the dial, etc. But the dial goes on the case ring, so you're going to start by putting the case ring on and securing it with the case screws. Then we're going to snap the dial on and fit the hands, and then put the entire movement into the case. There you go, got the watch back together. Hope you enjoyed watching this video more than I enjoyed working on it. The important thing is that the hands now line up where they should be, and being freshly serviced and actually keeping decent time. It's a beautiful movement, really nice decoration. I don't like some of the technical aspects, but I guess that was necessary to make it so thin. But to work on, it's kind of a half of it's very nice, the other half is not so nice. Very fiddly around the balance, hairspring, etc. What you expect, something that's very fine like this, if you can say it that way. Another word would be fiddly. But the main gear train and gear train screws and stuff, very nice, easy to work on. And the setting lever is very setting and winding mechanism, very nice. But the actual balance and the way that's set up can be a little bit tricky. If it's not perfect, then you got a challenge ahead of yourself. I did spend several hours longer than I would expect to on getting the hairspring right, but at least now it's got good beat area, good positional variation, top and bottom, and happy with that. So yeah, that's I don't think I've done this movement before, so it's a first for me. And again, hope you enjoy the video. Until next time, have a good one.